Good day everyone, I am Skyrepa, you are watching Man Cannot Ride. This is Octavia. This is my CFMoto 400. Okay, let me do another review of the CFMoto 400 NK. I've been getting requests for English subtitles for my reviews and for the other videos. Okay, so for this video we're just gonna go around and I'm going to give an English review for the CFMoto 400 NK. First off, CFMoto is a Chinese company. Okay, so Xizheng CFMoto Power Company Limited. So that's the name of the company that owns CFMoto, or that is CFMoto. Okay, so it's a Chinese company. This bike is a Chinese bike. CFMoto hired Kiska. Kiska is the European company that designed the KTM Duke 390. Alright, so CFMoto hired Kiska, a European company, actually to be specific, an Austrian company, to design this bike. That's why some people say that this has a lot of resemblance to the KTM Duke 390. Alright, I hope that's clear. So this CFMoto is a Chinese company. This is a Chinese bike. This is made in China. But the company who designed this bike, or how it looks, is an Austrian company, Kiska. Alright, okay. Alright, so CFMoto is a new company here in the Philippines, very young. A lot of things unknown about the company, but they struck gold with this 400 NK. They made a hit out of this bike, and that is because of just one thing alone, and that is its price. Alright, so this bike, I got this for 215,000 pesos. That is 4,400 or 4,400 US dollars. So the price is very competitive because here in the Philippines, again, this is an FYI, we have, especially here in Luzon, so the Philippines has three major islands: Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Alright, so now Luzon, one of the biggest island, Luzon has expressways, and in your country it could be called as freeways or highways, but we call it expressways here. Now the expressway has a rule for motorcycles. Only motorcycles registered as 400cc motorcycle and up are allowed to enter and use the expressways. Alright, registered. Alright, so that means on paper. Now, this bike, on paper, is registered as a 400cc bike. The displacement is 400cc on paper, on registration. Alright, so this is what we call an expressway legal bike here in the Philippines, here in Luzon. So that means I can take this to the expressways. I can use the expressways whenever I want. And with the price point of 215,000 pesos, this is the most affordable expressway legal sports naked bike. Sports naked or naked bike. I know of only two bikes that are cheaper than this. One is the Kawasaki / Bajaj Dominar 400, but it had a shaky start. When it was launched, there's an anomaly with its registration. But right now, the Dominar 400s are registered as 400cc. Now they cost about 180,000 pesos. Alright, so it's cheaper than the CFMoto. And another one is the Z. Oh no, not the Z. It's the Motostar Cafe 400. Now the Motostar Cafe 400 is another Chinese bike. And it costs around 150,000 pesos if I'm not mistaken. And on paper, it is registered as 400cc. Okay, let's get back to the 400NK. The displacement of this bike on paper is 400cc. And on the actual engine itself is 400.4cc. So this is an honest bike. And its name is 400NK, so it's very, I think this is the only bike I know that the name, the actual displacement, and the registration are the same. So going back to the selling point of the 400NK, that is a big thing. Imagine for the amount of money, 215,000 pesos, I can use the expressways. Okay, for reference, the Duke 390, the Duke 390 is about 280,000 pesos or thereabouts. that's expensive. Now the Ninja 400, the Kawasaki Ninja 400, which is now updated to 400cc, is more than 300,000 pesos. So for Filipinos dreaming of getting on the expressway and using the expressway, CFMoto made their dreams come true with the 400NK. That's why this bike made us such a good hit in the Philippine market. And actually that's it. That is the I hope you're okay. So that's it. That's the best review of this bike. CFMoto brought out a bike that made Filipino dreams come true. The dream of being able to ride a motorcycle on the expressways. Now, in any other place in the Philippines, like Visayas and Mindanao, that's not even a big deal. But still, a lot of riders in Visayas and Mindanao got interested in the bike because of its price point. Because it's, well, let's just say it, it's cheap. It's very cheap. You can afford this. And that's it. That's the essence of this bike. The CFMoto 400NK is a good bike. It's a great bike because it's very affordable. I mean, in the context of having an expressway legal bike, that is. So if you don't need, let's say you are here in the Philippines and you don't need to get on the expressways and you don't need an expressway legal motorcycle, then you don't need to buy this. There are other great bikes, other motorcycles out there that's not 400cc and they're very good. But if you want to enjoy the expressways, the highways, without having to sell your kidney or half of your brain, then this is the bike to get. But the question is, okay, are you gonna get the worth of the money that you're gonna pay for this bike? Are you gonna get what you paid for? So, is this bike any good? Alright, let's talk about the bike. I have something in my mind, I want to get it off first. Alright, let's do it. Alright, so the 400 NK has a two-cylinder engine. It's inline, or you can call it parallel or inline, however you call it, but those are two cylinders inline with each other and has a 400cc displacement. Now the engine can produce 41 horsepower at 9,500 RPM and 24 foot-pounds of torque at 7,750 RPM. The Duke 390 has a single-cylinder engine, 373cc of displacement, and it can produce maybe close to about 44 or 45 horsepower. Alright, now the Kawasaki Ninja 400 can do the same thing. It can produce close to about 45 to, I've seen 47 horsepower online, and the Ninja 400 has the same engine layout, two cylinders, inline, and almost the same displacement, 399cc. Now, you might think that this has less power, and yes, you are correct. This has less power than the Duke 390. This has less power than the Kawasaki Ninja 400. So is that really all there is? Is it just really the power? Okay. Now, this engine has a 180-degree firing interval, which means when the first piston fires and do the power stroke, so the second piston goes up and fires. So that's 180 degrees after the first piston has fired. Alright? So that's the 180-degree crank firing interval. Now, the power is being put through a 6-speed manual transmission, which has a fairly standard set of gear ratios. So this is 1 down and 5 up. Okay. Now the transmission is putting down that power through a chain drive, and this chain drive has 14 and 54 sprocket sets. So that means the front sprocket has 14 teeth and the rear sprocket has 54 teeth. That's why it's a little bit big. It's a little bigger than the Duke and the Ninja 400. You know what? If you have a 57 teeth rear sprocket, that is close to what stunt riders have in their bikes. So that's a big rear sprocket, but that's fine. That's okay, because you need to have the acceleration for this bike, because the power to weight ratio of this bike is not that good. 41 horsepower, and this bike weighs in at 206 kilograms. That is in the thereabouts of 460 pounds. The Duke 390 weighs in about 180 kilograms. The Kawasaki Ninja 400 is less than 200 kilograms. The bike that has the same weight as the 400 NK is the Kawasaki ZX-10R, which has I don't know, over 100 horsepower. So when I think about my bike, I just think about this as a very, very, very slow Kawasaki ZX-10R. Anyway, that's just how I see it. So the weight is a disadvantage. It's a heavy bike, and it's because of the steel frame. It's a steel tubular diamond cradle frame, but it's a good frame. It's rigid. It's not compared to the trellis frame of the KTM Duke 390, which the trellis frame will give you a little bit of flex. All right, because again, you know, KTM has this off-road DNA, so you need a little bit of flex in the chassis, in the frame. Now, but for this bike, for a naked bike like this, that's going to be used mainly on the road, and again, it's more of gearing to a sporty side. So you need a rigid frame. So that's the diamond cradle frame. Kawasaki uses this frame. You know what? Actually, there's a rumor that this bike what's based on the old Kawasaki ER6N platform. I'm not sure. Somebody said that. Actually, a lot of people have been saying that online. So the frame is similar to what the Kawasaki bikes are using, and the engine is part of the frame. It is a stress member. If you look down here, okay, so there's an open part of the frame. This triangular cut here of the frame, it is the support frame for the engine. So the engine is a stress member of the frame. It's not a single-sided swing arm, it's a double swing arm, but it's a cantilever design. The shock mounting is biased to the right side. Similar with what you can see with Ducatis and, you know, the early Ducatis where they have the shock on one side. Okay. Alright, so that's the engine, that's the frame, swing arm, and mounting. Now, what you have for the tires and the wheels. Okay, let's go to the tires and the wheels. These are CST Adreno Sport tires. So let's just give you some of the specs. We have 120, 70, and then we have 160, 60. And they're both mated to 17-inch alloy wheels. Now, there's really nothing special about the wheels, but for the tires, which are very important, during the first 1,000 kilometers of my ride, I was breaking in the motorcycle and I was breaking in myself and I was learning the motorcycle. I can feel that the rubber is not that grippy. It tends to give more when you become a little bit more excited with your riding. But after 1,000 kilometers, and especially after 1,500 kilometers, I noticed that the tires are bringing out their maximum potential, and they're very good. They have really good grip. I mean, again, going back to the price point, 215,000 pesos, and I get a set of tires that are grippy and that are stable during turn-in. During turn-in, it will give you the grip that you need, and it will stay on the turn-in. Okay, so when you turn in, it will stay on that lean, it will give you good grip, it will be very stable, and you will enjoy your ride. Alright, so in order to maximize the grip of the CST Adreno Sport tires, you have to set up your suspension according to your weight and to your riding style. Now, part of the setup, which is most important, are the tire pressures. Now, there's really no right or wrong tire pressure. It depends on how you ride your bike, where you ride it, and the condition of the bike when you're riding it. Okay, I'm not going to give you the tire pressures that I'm using because you might take it as it is. Oh, okay, let's just use this because he said we use this. No, it's not. You have to figure out the best tire pressure for your riding style and for your riding conditions. Alright, so there are a lot of videos on YouTube, I have a few, about setting the tire pressure up to maximize the potential of your bike. And again, it's a case-to-case basis. But let's go to the suspension, which is a little bit disappointing. Okay, so now let's just say that you have maximized the tire pressure of your tire so that you have better grip. You have to manage that grip. You have to put that grip down on the road 100% all the time, in all conditions, whether you're on a straight or you're leaning. And that is the job of the suspension. And the thing is, okay, what we have here for front, we have a standard telescopic fork right upside, and it's 41 mm. Okay, those are the specs. It's non-adjustable. Now, I've heard that for the CFMoto 650 NK, they are using KYB suspension, KYB forks, and KYB shock. For this, it's unbranded. It has no name. But I'm guessing these are unnamed Kayaba or KYB forks and shock. They just don't want to put the name on it. I don't know why. No, these things are not adjustable. There are no preload adjusters. There are no rebound adjusters. There are no compression adjusters. Nothing. You cannot really do anything with it on the outside. There is something that you can do inside, however, but that is not something everyone is comfortable in doing. So you can open up the forks and you can probably change the springs depending on your riding weight and your riding style, your riding preference. Or you can service the fork and change the fork oil to either a thicker oil or a thinner oil. It depends again on your preference. But overall, this set of fork, I mean, it's the biggest disappointment that I have on this bike. It would have been better. Let's see. Yeah. It would have been better. It would have been great. Okay? For the price point of 215,000 pesos, it would have been great if we can have just maybe the preload adjuster. Because the shock has preload adjusters. The preload adjuster is right here, and this is a damping adjuster. According to the website and according to some of the forums, this is a rebound adjuster. But in my experience of tuning this bike, this is a damping adjuster. It affects both compression and rebound. Now I have been communicating with Dave Moss for a good of 2 years already, and I've been learning a lot from him on how to set up the suspension. And in my experience, again, we discovered, or we can conclude, that this is not just a rebound adjuster. This is a damping adjuster. It has profound effects on rebound, and yeah, it can affect the compression as well. So this is a damping adjuster. So if you have preload and damping adjuster on the rear, you could have given the front some preload adjusters, and that would be great. So now you can balance out the bike. Because the problem I have with this bike is that CFMoto set up this bike for two-up riding, which means you have your rider and you have a pillion rider. I think they considered that this bike is going to be like a sports tourer or a naked sports touring bike, like a bike that they can people are going to take from really long rides, and they're thinking that you're going to bring someone along. So that's why this bike, coming from the showroom floor, is very stiff. It's set up for two people. Now, I am 80 kilograms naked. If I have my gear on, my riding weight is 87 kilograms. And still, I can feel that the suspension is still a little bit stiff for my riding weight. Now, if I have a preload adjuster here at the back, I can adjust this to compensate for my weight. I can make it, I can soften the rear up, and that's gonna be good. But the thing is, if I cannot do anything up front, I'd rather not touch the back. Because if I soften the rear and the front stays stiff, the bike is not balanced anymore. If I stiffen the rear and the front becomes soft over time, it's not balanced anymore. So, are you getting my point? My point here is the setup of the suspension of this bike depends on the front. So whatever the front is, I have to set up the rear so that it will balance out with the front. And that's a big problem because, I mean, you cannot fine-tune the bike, you cannot get a good setup for the bike because you have to follow whatever the front is giving you. So over time, let's say after 6,000 kilometers or after 10,000 kilometers, the forks will be soft, they will lose some of their performance, and now I have to tune the rear so that it will follow the balance of the fork. Now, if I service the fork and bring it back to its stiffness, or maybe use a different oil or use different springs, now I have to tune the rear to follow the setup of the front. That's I don't like that. I don't like that because you have to do a lot of work. If they could have, let's just let him pass. If CFMoto could have given us a preload adjuster here, the suspension of this bike is going to be amazing. Because you can set it up. You can set it up stiffer for sportier ride, and you can soften it up if you are, let's say, a smaller rider or a lighter rider, or if you want the suspension to be plush and very compliant on the road. But anyway, so that's it for the suspension. I have videos on how to adjust the rear, but I don't know, just go look for it. Alright, so we covered the engine, we covered the tires, the suspension, the frame, and everything. Let's go to the brakes. Now, J1 made the brakes for the CFMoto 410K. J1 is an international company that has a big name in some motorsports. I'm not sure, but I think. Wait, okay. Let me just give you an example. If you know Jonathan Ray for WSBK, he is selling his 2016 Kawasaki ZX-10R practice track bike. And now I look at the specs of that bike, and I can see there that they're using some components from J1. Okay, so J1 is a known company in the industry, and these are 2 pistons, double disc brakes up front, and I forgot the diameter. It's over 300. This is, I believe, is a 240 mm rear disc single piston caliper. Now I'm not sure because from what I'm seeing for the rear, these pads look like they're sintered, and the front they're just standard brake pads. Now, if you can see that, and if you notice, J1 provided the 400NK with steel braided brake lines. That is amazing. For the price point of 215,000 pesos, and getting steel braided brake lines, that's it. That's a good deal. That is a good deal. Some of the premium bikes out there in the same class don't even have steel braided brake lines, and they cost a lot more money than this bike. Oh, I forgot the chain. This chain is made by RK from Japan. And you know, right? When you say it's made in Japan, you can rely on its reliability. you know it's of good quality. So you can see there, you know, J1 brakes, a chain from Japan, steel braided brake lines, and a price point of 215,000 pesos. What is this bike? Is this bike good enough? Now the ABS is a 2-channel ABS from Continental. I will give the ABS on the rear 10 out of 10, and the ABS on the front an 8 out of 10. Okay, here's the thing. Let's go to the brake system, right? We are on the brake system. Oh, by the way, these are adjustable brake levers. This is a transparent brake master reservoir. I like the transparent ones because you can see the color of the fluid. You can see the status of the fluid real quick. You don't have to peek through a hole. Alright? And there you go. Now, ABS. I can count maybe 4 times already that I tried activating the ABS up front, and the front, you know, did some really quick but scary slides. If you're not quick on your hand, then it will catch you and it will bring you down. But again, Maybe that's just me or that's just my bike, but I tried testing the ABS for the front. It still slides a bit. A bit, okay? A new rider will lose some confidence and might get scared. I don't know, but for seasoned riders, for veteran riders, you won't even notice it. But you know that the front is sliding, just a little bit. Okay, when you grab the front. Okay, again, I was testing the ABS. Grabbing the front brake is a stupid thing to do on a bike. Okay, grabbing the front brake is not a proper riding skill, but I did it for the sake of testing the ABS. Now, under normal conditions, when you're braking properly and when you're braking gently, the ABS is not going to activate. Really, it's how the ABS works. Okay, the ABS is going to activate when you are locking up your wheels. So if you brake immensely, if you brake tremendously, and you lock up one of the wheels, let's say the front wheels, ABS will sense that, and ABS will do its thing and do its job to release that wheel from locking to get you more traction, to give you more traction, to give you back the traction that you're losing. Same thing with the rear. Now with the rear, I give it a 10-10 because I can never slide this rear wheel. I cannot. From the testings that I did, under closed conditions and controlled conditions, I cannot make the ABS on the rear slide even a bit. So that means the ABS is working perfectly fine. It's preventing my rear wheel to slide. So that's the thing with ABS. Now, overall, the brake system is very good because, again, it's from a very good company. The brake system is very good, but you have to know how to use it properly. And that means you have to have the technique, the proper braking technique, the proper riding technique. Because if you don't, regardless of the bike, if you don't know how to use the brake system, if you don't know how to brake properly, you're going to go down with the bike. So that's the braking system. Okay, one more thing. Some people are complaining that they feel that the 400 NK doesn't have a good stopping power. I will disagree on that. Any bike will stop with any brake system on them. Any brake system will stop a vehicle. Well, given that the brake systems are in good condition. Stopping is not the problem. Okay? Now, the performance of the brakes is not about the stopping. It will stop. It's just how are you going to stop? And it's not even the stopping. It's how you slow down. So I'm going to discuss more about what my perspective is of the braking system and the braking performance of a bike and how braking is done in another video. But for this one, no, the stopping power of the CFMoto 400 NK is not a problem for me because I can stop. What's more important is the braking performance when I'm trail braking, when I'm leaning in and trailing off the brake, transition from lean left, lean right, trail braking, slowing down to a corner. That is the essence of a very good braking system. It's not about stopping you down. You will stop. You will stop. Let's change location and then get to discuss a little bit more about the bike on the way. Because I've discussed the major parts, the engine, the frame, and the setup of the suspension, the tires, the braking system, the forks, the shock, all right, the transmission, the gearbox, the chain. All right, so we're gonna discuss the minor parts along the way. All right, let's see if my memory is going to serve me well. I'm gonna tell you the gear ratios of this bike. Okay, the primary gear ratio, that's the ratio of the output shaft to the engine, is 2.146. Now, the gear ratios are as follows. First gear is 2.5. Second gear is 1.8. Third gear is 1.333. Fourth gear is 1.111. Fifth gear is 0.962, and no, 966, I'm sorry. And then fifth gear is 0.852. So those are the gear ratios. And if you are familiar with gear ratios, those are the industry standards. That's a fairly standard set of gear ratios. Not just for bikes, but I've seen that gear ratio for cars even. Okay. I'm hoping I'm doing this review justice for those who requested an English review. And as you will notice, sometimes I'm very biased to certain aspects of the bike. And that's just me, because sometimes I don't really care about other things. Like, okay, one thing is about styling. I'm not really particular with styling, so if you're looking for a styling review of this bike, you're not going to get it. It's a naked bike, okay? It's a naked, upright, ergonomics, naked bike. Alright, so a little bit of FYI for those who are not here in the Philippines. This place is what we call Bonifacio Global City, or BGC. Oh, this is the KTM. This is the KTM shop here in BGC. Okay, that's Volkswagen. This is Bentley. And right around the corner is Lamborghini. 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 Lambo. Okay, so the lights are busted, so it's just give and take. So that's Audi, that's Porsche, and that's Lambo right there. Okay, fuel tank. So the fuel tank, as they say, can store up to 17 liters of fuel, but in my experience, that's just very optimistic. It's not really 17 liters of fuel. 15. But that's okay. I can get, if it's a chill ride, it's 4 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. If it's an aggressive ride, it's about 5 liters of fuel for every 100 kilometers. 20 to 25 kilometers per liter. Okay, by the way, I deliberately did not discuss about the fuel system. So this engine is being managed by a Bosch EFI system. I want to make a separate video for the Bosch EFI system, because I have a lot of things to say about the EFI system of this bike. But this bike is EFI already, so it's fuel injected, and the fuel management system is provided for by Bosch. Controls are fairly standard. There's really nothing special to them. The display it's a digital display. I'm not really a big fan of TFT displays, so I'm not gonna say anything about the display. It's good because it's giving me information that I need to know. So that's it. Now the lighting system, the new 2021 400 NKs came out with all LED lights, front and back. So again, I'm not really particular with lights, as long as they give light. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, so there you go. So what we've covered, minor things. The fuel tank, it has, you can put in 15 liters or close to 17 liters of fuel on it, and you will get 20 to 25 kilometers per liter consumption, or 4 liters per 100 kilometers, or maybe 5 liters per 100 kilometers. That's the consumption that I have been getting for the last 3,500 kilometers of riding. Other things, ergonomics. Okay, well, again, I changed the handlebar, so it's a low-rise handlebar, so I'm a little bit low and biased to the front. The foot pegs are not that high, and well, not that low, but it's directly underneath my butt. So that's you can say it's on the sporty side. Ergos. Okay, the exhaust system. Okay, the exhaust system for this bike, the stock exhaust system for this bike, they say is Euro 4 compliant. Ooh, okay. So that means the catalytic converter is a little bit bigger than Euro 3, and the honeycomb structure inside the catalytic converter is how should I say this? It has smaller profile or smaller holes compared to the catalytic converters for Euro 3. Okay, now the exhaust system for this bike is an integrated shell. So imagine that there's a shell, and inside that shell you have the catalytic converter, the resonator chamber, and a little muffler chamber or silencer chamber, and then you get a tailpipe, and you get a little tailpipe that sends the exhaust gases out to the side underneath the bike. So this is a you can say this is an underbelly exhaust system. That's the Inesa right there. That's where I park. Well, I think that's it. I think I've covered mostly everything that's essential on the bike. The seat, I changed my seat to hard seat. This is a hard racing seat already, so I'm not really a fan of comfy seats or soft seats. So I've changed the seat to hard seats, but the original seat is a little bit firm. I mean, it's not really soft, it's firm, but it's good, it's comfortable. But I wanted to have a flat, hard, stiff race seat, so I can slide my butt left to right. Most riders are complaining because the clutch is very stiff, and that's due to the fact that the clutch springs inside the clutch pack are really stiff. And for me, that's a good thing. It gives you good grip on the clutch plates. I don't mind. I don't care. I did not do anything to the clutch. I did not put in any clutch lightening system or whatever, but I did rerouted the clutch cable. It's originally on this side, going under the tank and going across and going to the clutch, but now I routed it so that it crosses the forks all the way to the right side, and it goes directly to the clutch actuator. But that's it. But I like it. I like it stiff. I like the clutch stiff so that I can modulate so that I have a good feeling when I do clutch modulation. When I'm trying to play around with the friction zone of the clutch, it's a good thing. If it's very light, I'm not gonna like it. I changed the tail of this bike. The tail used to be this long. I changed it to a shorter tail. This is the English review of the CFMoto 400 NK coming from my perspective, from my experience. I hope I did justice for those who requested for it.